Today I'll be interviewing soon-to-be-published author Victoria Caputo. Her book, Trust Me, Through the Eyes of a Survivor, is scheduled to be released in early 2018. In it, Victoria details her battles with mental illness and what it took to get to where she is today. I have the privilege of speaking with her today to learn more about her writing process, as well as her upcoming plans after the release of her book. I hope you enjoy. Hi again, everybody. My name is Neil Grasso, and I'm joined alongside newly published author Victoria Caputo. Great to have you here.
Great to be here.
Alrighty, so let's just jump right into it. So when did you make the decision to write a book detailing your experiences?
I've always wanted to write a book. I've always loved writing since I was a kid. And originally I wanted to write a children's book.
Okay, cool.
And it was a dream that was put on the back burner when all this kind of thing, when all these things started happening to me in the 7th grade, and I felt like my story needed to be heard.
And this is probably the best way to go through it, so it's awesome. So was the writing process difficult at any point? Like, did you feel like you were possibly like reliving any of the experiences through the writing itself?
Definitely. I mean, it was actually harder than I thought it was going to be. It was kind of like an out-of-body experience because I was trying to write it in first person. Obviously, the whole book is me speaking, but I had so many thoughts in my head, and it was surprising how challenging it was to put on paper. That's why it took me so long. It took me 3 years.
Wow. Okay.
I started when I was 18, and I finished just the end of last year. So over you go, I was 21.
That's crazy.
It was really hard.
And like having that like perspective of, like you said, you're writing in the first person, but I almost feel like it's almost like an out-of-body thing, because then you start putting it to paper, and it's almost like it's not you anymore, but then it really is, because you're like, I'm reliving this almost. That's crazy. So, but alternatively, were there any like high points? Did you feel that the writing process was like empowering in any way?
Oh yeah, it totally was, because when I was in the experiences, it was hard to kind of find, the light of it.
Mm-hmm.
But now looking back on it, I guess I love my moments, but it's nothing like it was. So looking back on it, it's just crazy how far I've come, and I didn't even think I'd be here. I didn't think the book would ever get finished. I didn't think I would still be around. So it was crazy to kind of relive my life a little bit.
Complete 180, and it's crazy because sometimes when you put stuff into writing like that, kind of like you said, it's like when you think about it and you try to maybe suppress a memory, it's tough. But when you put it to paper, you're like, it's not that bad. It's not as bad as it does. So that's cool. So how would you generally describe the book in regards to like plot, writing style, and tone, so on and so forth, to someone that has no idea what they're walking into with this book? So like, how would you describe Trust Me, Through the Eyes of a Survivor to someone that knows nothing about it?
So the book is, I would describe it as kind of a biography of myself, but it's not my whole life. It's just pinpointed on these years that I've experienced all of these mental illnesses and bullying and heartbreak and all these things that I mentioned. So you could see it as an autobiography, but the tone is very real because it's me. If I'm not, I'm not a ghostwriter. Like, this is what I went through. So it's, it's going to be challenging for some people to read. Like, I'm sure my family is going to have a hard time. Because a lot of it is stuff that they didn't need to know at the time. And so, the tone is very real. The style is to me, it's very simple. It's just, this is what happened, here's how it is, here's how I got through it.
Very straightforward, and I think that kind of adds to that, like you said, that tone of being very real is not really beating around the bush with any of the topics, just kind of explaining how you felt at the time, which is tough.
Well, since I'm such a young author, people are like, you're 22 and have a book coming out? And I'm like, yeah, and it's crazy because there's not many young authors, but I think that because I'm a young author and because I went through these things at a young age, people who are going through this kind of stuff now at my age, or even when I'm younger, and reading this are like, she's my age, or she's close to my age, she did it, I can do it too. It's almost more relatable coming from a young author, which again, why I think it's very real, because there's a different writing style from a 60-year-old to a 20-year-old.
Right. I think it's also important that you've written out these things kind of almost soon after they've occurred, because that adds that real aspect to it, whereas had you maybe waited 10 years, that raw emotion might not even be there anymore, because it's just like time is like taking its toll. But I think it's very important that you've done this so soon. So, so just talking a little about your experiences with diagnosed mental illnesses, do you think that the current state of how mental illness is perceived by the masses and by society, do you think that it's as bad as maybe experts and doctors say, where there's just this horrible perception that's just not very true? It's very inaccurate.
Well, my whole life I felt misunderstood by everybody. And I don't know if it's completely, I think it's definitely justified in a sense, but I don't think it's done on purpose. I think a lot of people are almost ignorant to it because it's like ignorance is bliss for them.
Right.
And if they haven't gone through it or know someone who's gone through it, then they're not going to be as exposed to it. I mean, don't get me wrong, there are always going to be people out there who are, you know, classifying me and everybody else as the crazy people. That's just how it's always going to be. But I think that as generations come, unfortunately, mental illness is becoming a lot more common.
Mm-hmm.
And I just think it's something that is hard to understand, but it needs to be understood. And that's why at Sacred Heart University, I started a mental health organization club in my junior year called To Write Love in Our Arms. It's still going over there because there was nothing that talked about it. There was nothing that talked about mental illness or suicide. And it's sad because so many people need help. And so many people want to help. And so many people just want to be informed. I mean, the club was huge. It's still huge. I'm still a part of it, you know, with the students who are running it now. But, like, it needed to happen, just like I think this book needs to happen. It has to get out there. I think people who read this book, whether you go through it or not, are going to be informed. If you go through it, you're going to like, oh my God, this is my life.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't go through it, you're like, oh my God, this could have been my life.
This is learning
How
something.
can I fix it?
Exactly. I think that a key point what you said is just putting that material out there, like saying how that book needed to be written. It's so important because if the material's not out there, no one can learn from it, and then there's no progression. And that progression is so important.
Right, it needs to happen.
So what was it like when you found out that your book was approved for publishing? Like, what was that feeling? What was going through your head?
I cried immediately, and it was crazy because, I mean, I sent out so many emails and you know, pages and pages and pages of
It's
documents.
a tough process.
It takes a long time. And, you know, they're like, you know, you'll hear back from us in 3 months. And I'm like, oh, okay, you know, like
Right.
it's, you know, so I really just never thought it could happen. And actually, I got a response from a publisher like a week after, and it wasn't a publisher I sought out myself. They sought me out.
Wow.
And I was like, oh, like, this is great. You know, I looked over the contract. I had my father look over the contract. Like, I had, you know, and I was like, something's not adding up because they wanted me to pay, which typically when you self-publish, you pay. When, you know, I was like, this is weird. I was like, what's going on? So I had my aunt, who is very good on the computer, like, look into them.
Mm-hmm.
Turns out they were totally scammers.
Good.
And they only wanted money, and they were going to do nothing with my book. And after that experience, I was like, this isn't going to happen for me. I was like, it's a sign. It wasn't going to happen for me.
Which wasn't true in the end.
Right. And I was like, totally, like, you know, I was down about it. I felt stupid, and like, I was just like so annoyed by it. And then about a month later, one of the publishers that I had sought out reached out to me and was like, you know, could you send us the full manuscript? Because it starts off where you just send like a chapter or two, and then if they're interested, they read it all. So then they read the whole manuscript, and about a week and a half later, I got an email saying that they wanted to do business. And as soon as I got the email, I was at my mom and dad's place in Greenwich. I sobbed. And Mom was like, what's going on?
Yeah.
And I couldn't even tell her. I just had to show her the email. And then she started crying.
That's an insane
Yeah.
experience. That's probably going to be that's such like an uplifting feeling after not only going through all the struggles themselves, but then struggles with the actual publishing and then
Yeah.
having that experience.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
it's crazy because, like, I mean, I'm so thrilled about it, and the love and support I've gotten from friends, family, like, everybody's just been great. And, like, I'm so excited, but I don't think it's really hit me yet.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it's going to hit me until I have that book and I see my picture on the back of it.
I feel you.
Then I don't know.
That's going to be a crazy
I
moment.
don't know how I'm going to be then.
Those tears again. If those tears come again, those are good
Oh,
tears.
I
You know?
guarantee you that's going to happen.
Absolutely. So actually, this plays very well into my next question. Pretty much. So specifically, how did your friends and family react to the news that they now know a soon-to-be published author? How is that? I mean, you said your mom cried, but
Yeah.
like, you know, how was like?
That's been, I mean, it's been crazy. I mean, the book is dedicated to my godmother, who my whole life has pushed me, like, you have to, like, do something with your story, and always gave me journals for, like, my birthday and whatever, and I couldn't wait to tell her, and she tells me, like, every day, she's like, words can't describe how proud I am of you. I get messages from people that I don't even know that well, who I went to school with, and they're like, you've inspired me to, you know, to write a book, and I have some people ask me how I went about finding a publisher. Like, I have a lot of people
reaching out,
and like, my parents have friends who, you know, they don't really know me, but they see my Facebook promotions and whatever, and they message me and they're like, my daughter's going through this, can she talk to you? And I'm like, yeah, like, I'm happy, you know, I'm so grateful for all love and support from everybody, and without them, there's no way it would have happened without that support, and I'm glad that they're glad that I can be helpful to, to as many people as possible.
That's great to hear. So just kind of wrapping things up and kind of talking about what you just mentioned, how do you plan to help those battling with similar struggles now after the release of the book? What are your steps for the future?
Well, after the book is released, I'm going to start doing I have a couple set up to do some like public speaking opportunities. I have one coming up, I don't have a date yet, it's going to be in February, it's going to be at Sacred Heart.
Oh.
It's going to be like it's not going to be the whole book, but it's going to be like a little reading and some Q&A and like a signing, and that's at Sacred Heart. And then I'm actually going to be speaking, I was chosen to speak at, I don't know if you've ever heard of it, the Hobie Conference in Long Island.
I have heard of Hobie, actually, yes.
Yes, I think it's about 2,000 students, high school
Selected
sophomores,
yep.
are chosen. It's a really big deal, and they go to this conference where they learn how to make a difference in college and, in their life, and that's going to be a big deal.
That's big.
And I'm hoping to only add more, public speaking opportunities and maybe another book down the line, who knows, but I'm not stopping after this, because it's not, as much as I want it to, it's not going to change the world.
You can change the world piece by piece. Victoria, thank you so much for coming out.
So nice to be here.
There you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Victoria Caputo, soon to be published author. Her book comes out January 15th, so get it in stores. It'll be available online. Thank you so much, everybody. Bye-bye.